Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay. So, all of you, please switch on your videos. So, here we discuss about the electromagnetic induction. And the last class, we just start an introduction for this electromagnetic induction. We define the term, what you mean by electromagnetic induction, and who proposes this term or this phenomenon of electromagnetic induction to the field of physics, and about the term associated with electromagnetic induction, that is magnetic flux. Okay, so we can recall all these terms once again, then we can move to the experiments. So starting with Adul, define electromagnetic induction.
Producing electricity from magnetism.
Okay, it is the process of generation of electricity by varying magnetic field is called electromagnetic induction. Emmanuel, magnetic flux.
It is the total number of magnetic fields.
Total number of magnetic field lines. Complete the sentence. Total number of magnetic field lines.
Experienced by a
magnet. This it is magnetic flux. Aditya, what is magnetic flux?
Magnetic fields passing through a given medium.
I can hear. 1 minute. Okay. Can you say once again?
Total number of magnetic field lines
Okay.
passing through a given area.
Yes, it is the total number of magnetic field lines that is passing through a given area is called magnetic flux. Achyut, what is the mathematical expression for magnetic flux?
Phi B is equal to B cos theta.
Phi B is equal to BA cos theta. So magnetic flux means the total number of magnetic field lines that is passing through a given area, and it is represented by the letter phi. Phi B. Phi B is equal to BA cos theta. Since it is the dot product between magnetic field and that of the area of the given material, we can write phi is equal to B dot A. Okay, so that is the mathematical expression for magnetic flux. And in order to introduce this concept of electromagnetic induction, Michael Faraday and Joseph Henry conducted a series of experiments. So that is what we are discussing in our last class. So today we can do the first experiment that was conducted by Michael Faraday using our virtual lab. And a magnet, a circular coil or a cylindrical coil, and also a bar magnet. Whenever the bar magnet is moving towards the coil, the galvanometer attached to the coil shows a deflection which indicates the presence of current. And when we kept the bar magnet stationary near the coil, it does not show any deflection. That is, the current that is flowing through the circuit becomes stops. And when we moving this bar magnet away from that of the circular coil, the galvanometer shows a deflection, but it is in the opposite direction. So from this experiment, Faraday draws a conclusion that the relative motion between the bar magnet and that of the circular coil is generated the electric current. So now we can discuss the next experiment. The second experiment that was conducted by Michael Faraday. Okay. So, or we can draw one more conclusion. What do you mean by induced current or induced EMF? Induced EMF. What do you mean by induced EMF? What do you mean by EMF? We are already studying about EMF in our chapter current electricity. So what do you mean by EMF? Electromotive force. What do you mean by EMF? There is a difference between EMF and S.
Potential difference when there is no flow of current.
Yes, it is the potential difference that across the terminals of the conductor when there is no cell is connected. Whenever there is no cell is connected, the potential difference that is develops across the terminals of a conductor is known as EMF. So here in the first experiment, we can see that there is no cell is connected here. There is no source of power. The galvanometer is attached to that of the first coil in order to detect the presence of current. Okay. And here the current is developed inside the coil. This is our coil 1. The current is developed inside the coil. It is only because of the relative motion of this bar magnet. Okay. So the relative motion of this bar magnet is induces. It is the EMF is not present in the circuit. It is induce an EMF inside the coil, and that induced EMF is generate an electric current. That electric current is responsible for the deflection of galvanometer. Okay, so here we can make a summary, that is the relative motion of bar magnet, relative motion of magnet induces an EMF, in the coil. That is, initially there is no current is present in the circuit. So the relative motion of the bar magnet is induced an EMF in the coil. That induced EMF is generate a current. That current is called induced current. That is, the current generated by the induced EMF is called induced current, because initially there is no current is present in our coil. This current is generated with the help of an induced EMF. And how the induced EMF is generated in the coil? It is because of the relative motion of the magnet. Whenever you kept the magnet stationary, there is no EMF is generated in the circuit. The EMF is generated if and only if you are moving the magnet towards and away from the coil. Okay. Along with this, you must remember one thing, or you must kept in mind about the magnetic flux. What do you mean by magnetic flux? It is the total number of field lines that is entering the magnet or entering the area. That is what is known as magnetic field lines. So here we know that this is our bar magnet. Bar magnet has its own magnetic field lines. The bar magnet has its own magnetic field lines. So when we moving this bar magnet towards the coil, maximum number of magnetic field lines are entering into this coil. Maximum number of magnetic field lines are entering through the coil. So whenever the number of magnetic field lines increases, what happens to the magnetic flux? According to the definition, magnetic flux is also increases. Okay, so you must get this point in your mind when we are describing the experiment regarding with electromagnetic induction. Okay, magnetic flux means the total number of field lines that is passing through a given area. That is what is known as magnetic flux. So whenever the number of field lines or magnetic field lines increases, the magnetic flux associated with the material is also increases, or it is changes, it undergoes a change. Similarly, when we are moving this bar magnet towards a circular coil, maximum number of magnetic field lines is passing through the given area. Here the given area is the first coil. So the maximum number of magnetic field lines is passing through our first coil. So we can say that here the magnetic flux is changes. Magnetic flux associated with the coil is changes, or it is increases, or it is raised to a maximum value. Then when we are keeping this bar magnet away from that of the coil, here also the magnetic flux associated with the coil is changes. It is decreases to a minimum value. Okay, so here whenever the relative motion between the magnet and that of the coil is takes place, actually what happens, the magnetic flux associated with the coil is undergoes a change. That change in the magnetic flux induces an EMF in the coil, and that induced EMF is responsible for the generation of the current. That current is known as induced current, which is responsible for the deflection of the galvanometer. So this is the general picture that we obtained from the first experiment that was conducted by Michael Faraday. Okay, so the relative motion between the magnet generates, or it is changes the magnetic flux associated with the coil. Here we can say one more sentence. It changes the magnetic flux. Changes magnetic flux associated with the coil. Magnetic flux. And this change in magnetic flux induce an EMF in the coil. This induced EMF is generate a current. That current is known as induced current, and this induced current is responsible for the deflection of the galvanometer. Is it clear now? So it is a step-by-step procedure. If we are moving the magnet, what happens? Maximum number of magnetic field lines is passing through our coil. Whenever the maximum number of field lines passing through the coil, the magnetic flux already increases. It is automatically increases to a maximum value. Okay, so when it is increases to a maximum value or the magnetic flux associated with the coil is changes, it produces an EMF. Thereby it produces an EMF in the coil. That produced EMF is known as induced EMF. Okay, so this induced EMF is actually produced as a result of the change in magnetic flux associated with the coil. And how this magnetic flux is changes, it is occurs due to the relative motion between the magnet. If and only if you are moving the magnet towards and away from the magnet, then only the magnetic flux associated with the coil is changes. Then only we can produce an EMF in the coil. That EMF is known as induced EMF. This EMF is responsible for the generation of the current. That is what is known as induced current, and that is responsible for the deflection in the galvanometer. So this is the general or summary of the first experiment. Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we can explain the second experiment. This yes.
This was part of the first experiment, right?
Yes, Achyut?
This was part of the first experiment, right?
Yes. The same result you can obtain from the second experiment also, the same result. In order to introduce this concept of electromagnetic induction, he conducted a series of experiments. So the first experiment is known as coil magnet experiment. Coil magnet experiment. Now we are going to discuss the second experiment. The second experiment is known as coil experiment. First one is coil magnet experiment. Now we are going to perform the second, that is coil experiment. Okay. So as its name implies, in order to do this experiment, he considered two coils such that the first coil is connected to a galvanometer in order to detect the presence of current, and the second coil is connected to an electric cell. So this is our coil 1, this is coil 2, C1 and C2. In coil experiment, he considered two coils such that the first coil attached to galvanometer to detect the presence of current, and the second coil is attached to an electric cell. So the coil is named as C1 and C2 respectively.
Second coil.
Second coil is connected to an electric cell. Electric cell. Consider two coils, C1 and C2, such that the first coil is connected to a galvanometer to detect the presence of current, and the second coil is connected to an electric cell. So now, when the cell is connected to this second coil, what happens to the second coil? The current is started to flow through this second coil. We know that whenever a battery is connected to any conductor, the current flow is occurs. That is, charge is flows from one point or one terminal to another terminal. Similarly, when an electric cell is connected to the second coil, the current is started to flow through this second coil. Whenever the electric cell is connected to the second coil. The current is started to flow through this second coil. So it becomes a current carrying conductor. So when a cell is connected to the second coil, it becomes a current carrying conductor because the current is flowing through our second coil. Then from previous chapters, we have already studied that the current carrying conductors are behaves like what? Current carrying conductors are behaves like
Magnet.
magnet. The current carrying conductors are behaves like magnet. So now the coil C2 is behaves like a magnet because here it is connected to an electric cell so that the current is flowing through the second coil. So it becomes a current carrying conductor. So now the coil C2 is behaves like a magnet. Okay. So now students, you just imagine that initially if there is no cell is connected to here, does any current flow is occurs through the coil C2? Any current flow is occurs through coil C2?
No.
No. If and only if we are connecting the cell, then only the current flow is occurs through the coil C2. Then it becomes a current carrying conductor and it becomes a magnet. So now the coil C2 behaves like a magnet. That coil C2 is brought near the coil C1. Okay, that coil C2 is now we are going to, or it is moving towards C1. Now the coil C2 is moving towards C1. Then what change that you can observe in the galvanometer? We know that now the coil C2 becomes a magnet. Every magnet possesses its own magnetic field lines. So now the coil with the C2 with the number of magnetic field lines is brought near the coil C1. So what happens? Maximum number of magnetic field lines from the coil C2 enters into the coil C1. Okay, so this is the second experiment. The second experiment is also known as coil-coil experiment. For that, here we consider two coils, C1 and C2, such that the C1 is attached to a galvanometer and the C2 is connected to a cell. Since it is connected to an electric cell, the current is started to flow through our coil C2 and it behaves like a magnet. Now in the next step, we brought this coil C2, that is the coil C2 which behaves like a magnet, is brought near the coil C1. Then what happens? The magnetic field lines from the coil C2 enters into the coil C1. The magnetic field lines from C2 enters into the coil C1 because it is a magnet. Now the coil C2 behaves like a magnet. Every magnet possesses its own magnetic field lines. So whenever we brought this coil C2 near the coil C1, magnetic field lines from the coil C2 enters into the coil C1. Maximum number of magnetic field lines enters into the coil C1. Okay. Then what happens to the magnetic flux associated with the coil? Maximum number of field lines enters into the coil C1. Then what happens to the magnetic flux associated with the coil C1?
Increases.
It increases because magnetic flux is the total number of field lines passing through a given area. Here the given area is our circular coil C1 and the magnet is C2. Here in this case there is no bar magnet. Instead of that, here using another coil and an electric cell is attached to it. So now the coil C2 behaves like a bar magnet. Instead of bar magnet, here we are using another coil that is connected to an electric cell. Whenever the electric cell is connected to it, the current is passing through the coil and then it behaves like a magnet. When such a coil C2 is moving towards the coil C1, what happens? Maximum number of magnetic field lines from the coil C2 is allowed to pass through this coil C1. So here due to the relative motion of the circular coil or cylindrical coil C2. The relative motion of C2 towards the coil C1, maximum number of field lines is enters into the coil. As a result, magnetic flux associated with the coil is changes. Magnetic flux associated with the coil is changes. That is, it is increases to a maximum value because maximum number of field lines is enters into the coil C1, so that magnetic flux is rises to a maximum value. Magnetic flux of the coil C1 is rises to a maximum value. So here a change in the magnetic flux is occurs that induces or that produce an EMF in the coil. That EMF is known as induced EMF. So this change in the magnetic flux induce or produce an EMF in the first coil C1. That EMF is known as induced EMF, and this induced EMF is responsible for the generation of current. That current is known as induced current. So here now in the coil C1 a current is generated. That current is known as induced current. As a result, galvanometer shows a deflection towards right or left. Suppose we can take it as deflected to right side initially. Okay. So whenever the circular coil is moving towards the coil C1, whenever the coil C2, now it is behaves like a magnet, moving towards the C1, the magnetic field lines from the coil C2 is enters through the circular coil C1. So maximum number of field lines from the coil C2 enters through the coil C1. So the magnetic flux associated with the coil C1 is increases or it is rises to a maximum value. So magnetic flux associated with the coil C1 is changes. That change in magnetic flux produce an EMF or it is generate an EMF inside the coil C1. That EMF is known as induced EMF. This induced EMF is responsible for the generation of the current. That is what is known as induced current. As a result, galvanometer shows a deflection that is towards right side. Okay. Now, suppose we kept this coil C2 in a stationary state near the coil C1. Then what happens? Now we kept this coil C2 kept stationary near the coil C1. Here we kept this coil C2 stationary near the coil C1. Okay. Is there any deflection is produced by our galvanometer? No deflection is produced because here the magnetic field lines that is enter into the coil C1 is constant because there is no relative motion between the coils takes place. No relative motion between two coils takes place because in the second stage the coil C2 is kept constant or kept stationary. So when you kept this coil C2 is kept stationary near the coil C1, magnetic field lines are constant. It is neither increase nor decrease. Magnetic field lines are constant. So there is no current is passing through the coil C1. That is current that is present in the coil C1 is a constant. There is no current is passing through coil C1. So galvanometer shows zero deflection. This is the second stage. So in the second stage, he kept the coil C2 stationary near the coil C1. Magnetic field lines coming from the coil C2 is constant because there is no relative motion is takes place between these two coils. So the magnetic field lines that is coming from the C2 is constant. So no current is passing through the coil C1 and hence the galvanometer shows a zero deflection. That is no current is passing through the coil at this stage. Whenever you kept the coil C2 kept stationary. Now the third case. Now in the third case, he remove the or he take the coil C2 or he keep the coil C2 away from that of the coil C1. He kept the coil C2 away from that of the coil C1. The coil C2 is moving away from that of the coil C1. Then what happens? The field lines from the C1 is decreases. Whenever he move the magnet or the coil C2 away from that of the C1, the magnetic field lines of the C2 is moving along with it. That is, the magnetic field lines from the coil C1 is reduces. Okay. So what happens? The magnetic flux associated with the coil is reduces to a minimum value. It is reaches a maximum value whenever the coil C2 is moving towards the coil C1. When we are bring this coil C2 away from that of the C1, what happens? The magnetic field lines is reduces to a minimum value. So here also the flux associated with the coil C1 is changes. Magnetic flux is decreases from a maximum to a minimum value. Here also this change in magnetic flux induce an EMF in the coil C1. That induced EMF is generate a current. As a result, the galvanometer shows a deflection, but it is in the opposite direction. So in the second case, the coil C2 moving away from magnet. Coil C2 moving away from coil C1, not magnet. The coil C2 is moving away from coil C1. Magnetic flux associated with the C1 decreases. Magnetic flux of C1 decreases to a minimum value. To a minimum value. This goes on decreasing. Okay. The magnetic flux associated with the coil C1 is decreases to a minimum value. From a maximum value to a minimum value. Here also the magnetic flux associated with it is changes. So this change in the magnetic flux induce an EMF. It is induce an EMF in the first coil. That induced EMF is generate a small current. That current is known as induced current. And this induced current is generate a deflection in the galvanometer, but it in the opposite direction. That is in left side. So initially the galvanometer is deflected towards right side. In the second stage, whenever we kept the coil C2 stationary near the coil C1, galvanometer shows zero deflection. And in the third case, here the coil C2 is moving away from that of the coil C1. So the magnetic field lines are decreases. So whenever the magnetic field lines decreases, we can say that the magnetic flux of the coil C1 is decreases to a minimum value. From a maximum value, it is decreases to a minimum value. So there is an EMF or magnetic flux changes occurs. Whenever the magnetic flux changes occurs, it produces or it is generate an EMF in the coil C1. That EMF is known as induced EMF, and this induced EMF is responsible for the generation of the small current in the coil C1. Here also the galvanometer shows a deflection, but it is in the opposite direction. So this is the second experiment that was conducted by Michael Faraday. So from this experiment also he drew the same conclusion. The relative motion between the two coils are responsible for the generation of the current. Here the current is produced or generated as a result of the relative motion between the coils. The current is generated if and only if the coil is moving away, the second coil is moving towards or away from that of the first coil. When it is kept stationary, no current is generated in the first coil. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now the third experiment. It It is exactly same as that of our second experiment. Third experiment, there is no particular name for it. Third experiment. Here we give a slight modification. The first case, here we are consider the coil. It is connected to a galvanometer. And the second coil connected to a cell and to a tap key. Key, the switch. So here we consider the two coils C1 and C2 such that the first coil is connected to galvanometer and the second coil is connected to an electric cell and a tap key. And here, whenever we press the key, we can see a momentarily deflection in the galvanometer. So whenever the key is in a on stage or whenever it is in a release stage or it is an on state, there is no current is passing through the coil C2. We know that the switch is a device that is used to either close or open the circuit. So here the tap key is mainly used to open or close the circuit. So here now the key is in the open state. Switch is in the open state. No current is flowing through the circuit C2. Okay, it is just behaves like a conductor. The C2 is just behaves like a coil. But whenever we press the key, that is whenever we close the switch, what happens? The circuit is complete. The current is started to flow through this coil C2. It behaves like a magnet. It becomes a current carrying conductor and it is behaves like a magnet. So when we press the key, what happens? At the same time, there is a momentary deflection you can observe in the galvanometer. It is deflected either towards left or towards right. Suppose initially we can think it is deflected towards right side. Okay. So when you press the key, K, what happens? The current is passing through the coil C2. It behaves like a magnet. At the same time, due to this effect, what happens? Galvanometer shows a deflection. That is, a small current is generated in the coil C1 due to the presence of this current flowing through the coil C2. When we press the key, a sudden or momentarily deflection is observed in the galvanometer G, that is towards right side. And if you are press the key continuously, that is if you are kept it in a stationary position or if you are pressing the key continuously, the galvanometer shows zero deflection. If you are release the key, galvanometer again shows the deflection, but it is in the left side. So this is the third experiment that was conducted by Michael Faraday. Okay, once again I will explain. Here we consider the two coils C1 and C2 such that the coil C1 is attached to the galvanometer, C2 is connected to an electric cell and a tap key. The tap key is mainly used to press and release or to make the circuit open and closed. Okay. So initially we are just press the key. Whenever we press the key, the current is passing through the coil C2. It behaves like a magnet. At the same time, a momentary deflection can be observed in the galvanometer that is connected to the coil C1. It is deflected towards right side. But when we are press the key continuously, if it is hold for a long time, the galvanometer shows zero deflection because the magnetic field lines that is passing through the coil C1 becomes constant. So there is no current is passing through our coil C1. Whenever we release the key, again a momentary deflection is shown by our galvanometer, but at the same time it is deflected towards the opposite direction, that is left side. Okay, so this experiment is also drawn the conclusion that if and only if the pressing and releasing of the key or the relative motion between the keys takes place quickly, then only the galvanometer shows a deflection. If you are hold it for a long time or if it is kept in a stationary state, there will be no current is passing through the coil C1. If and only if the momentarily deflection is takes place, if the key is pressed and released quickly or suddenly. So this is the third conclusion that is drawn by Michael Faraday. So from all these three experiments, we can say that the relative motion between the magnet, the relative motion between the two conductors are responsible for the generation of the current. This is the conclusion that he drawn from all these activities. The relative motion between the coil and magnet or the relative motion between the two coils are responsible for the generation of the current.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, can you tell the third conclusion again?
Third conclusion. The conclusion from all these three experiments are the same. Or if we are pressing and releasing the key, if and only if we are press and release the key, then only the current is generated. The EMF is induced in the primary coil and it is generate the current. If you are hold or if you are pressing the key for a long time or if you are kept it in for a stationary time, there will be no current is generated. And from all these three experiments, he drew the one conclusion that electromagnetic induction is the production of electromotive force across an electrical conductor in a changing magnetic field. When an induced current is produced because of voltage production due to a change in the magnetic field, it is called electromagnetic induction. I will show the definition once again. Okay. The change in the magnetic flux linked with the secondary coil and it is induces an EMF in the secondary coil. I will give the another conclusion. 1 minute. Okay. Characteristics of electromagnetic induction. One more slide is there. 1 minute. Okay, write the conclusion from all these three experiments. The relative motion between the two coils, is responsible for the relative motion between the two coils, responsible for the generation of an electric current. The relative motion between the two coils are responsible for the generation of the electric current. In the first case, it is the relative motion between coil and magnet. In the second case, it is the motion between the two coils. And the third case, actually it is because of the pressing and releasing of the key. The pressing and releasing of the key is responsible for the generation of the electric current. So based on all these observations or from that he made from this experiment, he generated the two laws in electromagnetic induction. We can discuss the laws in our next class. So I hope that these three experiments are clear. Is it clear? Is there any doubt regarding with these three experiments?